Um, I'm really concerned, actually, about what I view as the criminalization of dissent in this country. And I see all kinds of indications of this in terms of like infiltration of peace groups, use of the Patriot Act on the state level to, charge people like at the Republican National Convention, even the arresting of Amy Goodman. I mean, I think all these things are kind of part and parcel of an intimidation, and also I feel like the laws have not caught up to where the technology is, and we have all of this capability to invade people's lives now, and I just don't feel like the law has kind of caught up to the government's technological expertise in being able to extract information from us.
Right. Well, one of the interesting things about that is that, whenever I do these events and give these speeches, and I typically get asked, I didn't hear, and I'm really happy about that, so congratulations to you all for not including this bad question. But people always want to know, well, haven't we passed the point where we are now a fascist state and we are a tyranny and we are authoritarian? The reason I don't like that question is because I don't think those terms mean much, but more so it's because I think it kind of overstates where we are. And what I usually say is that the fact that we're all able to gather here and say the things that we're saying and exchange these ideas without police barging in and without the fear of police barging in and putting us in prison is in one sense a testament to the fact that there are some important freedoms that we still actually have that are vibrant. And to me, as long as you have the right of free speech, it's really the linchpin of all the other rights, because as long as free speech exists, then it always means that you can alert your fellow citizens to the realities of what's taking place and to assemble with them and organize with them and try and work against it. And so free speech, as much as I value all of the liberties of the Constitution and believe they're absolute and indispensable, free speech to me is always the linchpin because it's what enables and protects all the others. That said, I don't think any of us do fear that, at any moment, the police or the FBI is going to come into this room, even though we've all been quite critical of the government, and that's a good thing. At the same time, that's not how erosions take place. Erosions take place incrementally, and they take place on the margins, and then they always creep inward. And one of the reasons why governments like to create new and radical and dangerous powers by targeting really sort of contemptible and easily demonizable people is because then people will assent to the use of that power. And I talk a lot about the assertion by President Obama that he has the right to order American citizens assassinated. One of the reasons why that's caused so little controversy, even though it's the most tyrannical power that can exist, the claimed power to order American citizens assassinated without any due process, the reason why it's caused so little controversy is because the person whom they've targeted first is one who has been so thoroughly demonized. The only pictures you ever see of him are sitting in what looks like a cave. He's covered in what Juan Williams refers to as Muslim garb. His name is always prefaced with radical Islamic cleric, Anwar al-Awlaki. And he's constantly accused of being an Al-Qaeda member who, without any evidence at all, the media tells us, is responsible for ordering the underwear bomber, the attack on Fort Hood, and now these bomb packages for which there's no evidence. And so when you say to somebody, well, aren't you concerned about and angry about, and aren't you going to object to the assertion of this power, they'll tell you, well, no, why would I care if a terrorist monster like that is killed? And even if that's true, even if that's a reasonable way of looking at the world, and obviously I don't, the point is that those powers start in those instances, but they always creep further and further and further inward so that they expand in terms of how they're used. And that is the reason why these creeping First Amendment infringements that you're talking about are so disturbing, is because right now they are being directed at people who are called eco-terrorists, or people who have deliberately removed themselves from the sort of matrix of our society, people who are not just anti-war advocates, but are purposely living outside of it and are engaging in civil disobedience. Some of it are branches from the WTO protest in Seattle, the kinds of domestic dissidents who have been really demonized to the point where they're deemed violence and true threat. And what they're really doing is they're institutionalizing these powers so that now the Patriot Act no longer just gets applied to actual Islamic terrorists outside of the country. It's now applied internally to alleged dissident groups as well. And that's true of all the powers that were created as part of the war on drugs. And it's true of really every expanded police power. They always expand and expand and expand. They always find new applications for them. And I think that actually is one of the most serious threats possible, is once you start infringing free speech, once you get the society and the citizenry to accept that free speech abridgments are justifiable, that really then threatens the core liberty, without which really all other liberties can quite easily be abridged. There is no authoritarian society that allows free speech, and there's a really good reason for that. So with that, thanks very much for the excellent